Hello, everybody. So, this is Jordan Cameron. I'm here at PAX East 2016, and I'm chatting with some of the creators of the Banner Saga. You may know this fantastic strategy RPG. It's inspired by Norse mythology, and we're here to talk a little bit more about it. So, here, would you introduce yourself, kind sir?
I think I'm off camera. I'm Austin Wintery, and I wrote the music for both games.
Fantastic. Would you mind passing the mic down?
Not at all.
And I'm Arnie Jorgensen, the art director and co-owner of Stoic.
I'm John Watson, the technical director, which means I do most of the programming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jorgensen and Dr. Watson. So now I have to ask, so how long have you guys been developing video games?
I've been doing it for most of my life, professionally for about 20 years.
And I've been working for about 16 years in video games and a long time before that in graphics.
Very cool. You know, yeah, it might be best if you just sit over there. But yeah, so Mr. Wintery, now you composed the music for the game. Might I ask, how did you get into composing game music in general?
Well, I wanted to write music since I was 10 years old as a career, and there's a million different ways you can write music as a career. You can write for the symphony orchestra, you can write operas, you can do film scores, you can do video game music, and I kind of wanted to do it all, but I was also really passionately a gamer. So that was kind of, it was a bigger focus than other areas, and as soon as I went to college, it was like, well, I should find student game designers to work with or something, and I did, and one of those people ended up being a guy named Genova Chen, and we did a student project called Flow, and it ended up kind of blowing up online, and we got hired by Sony to remake it as a PS3 game, and that got my career going. That was 10 years ago now, and of course that then a few years later led directly to working on Journey, which kind of radically altered my career from that point forward. So, but it always stemmed from just a love of gaming. I absolutely love. I play as many games as I can. I try to learn from them. I play them just as a fan, I get addicted to them like everybody else, and so yeah.
Very cool. Now, can you tell us how you came to the Banner Saga?
Well, these guys called me when they were doing their Kickstarter for the first game, which was now about 4 years ago.
Exactly, because we started in March or April.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It was shortly after Journey came out. It was March release.
And I can answer this a little bit more. We were thinking about music at that point because we suddenly had a budget. And we were looking at all kind of demo reels and listening to all kind of demo reels, and we spent a lot of time on this. And we narrowed it down to 12. Then we sat down and listened to all those 12. We narrowed it down to 3, and then somebody gave us some advice. Basically, like, if you're having a hard time deciding, just take a step back and say that if you weren't being presented with options you had to choose from, what would you choose? And we all hit upon the idea of Austin because we'd all just played Journey recently, and I was consciously impressed throughout the playing of Journey with the way that the gameplay and the music were intertwined. I mean, there were many points within the game like, whoa, that just happened, and so we were all on the same wavelength. So we said, okay, if we just had to take a step back and choose someone without choosing from this set of things that's been given to us, who would we choose? And we called Austin.
Very cool. So now, how long have you guys been in the game industry, and what led you to the Banner Saga? Perhaps I can start with you.
I've been working with John for, good grief, 11 years. Before this, we both worked at Sony Online Entertainment on Star Wars Galaxies, and then we both went to work at BioWare on Star Wars The Old Republic. So I'd known him for some time, and it was right at that time that kind of mobile games were getting cool and creative, and I saw this little game called Sword and Sorcery, and my brain went twing, like, this is what I want to do. I want to work on a small team again and develop games like this. So the original idea for the Banner Saga was a much smaller game than what is out there right now, and it was going to be just a small scope game that was real artsy and fun to do with a small team. And yeah, it would have been probably about an hour. And I called John and I said, would you ever think about leaving, AAA to work as an indie? And he says, I would have left yesterday. So we jumped right into it and ran a Kickstarter. We got more money than we thought we would, and it just became a bigger game because we had to deploy it all. So that's where we are now.
Another thing I have to ask is, you guys, the game publishing landscape was a lot different when you pitched this thing on Kickstarter 4 years ago. So would you feel that if you were to ever do a Kickstarter again, do you feel like you got some valuable experience from it? Or do you feel like the landscape's changed a whole lot and it would be a lot more difficult?
I don't think anybody really knows exactly until they run their game and then they're funded or not. I think we know the landscape's changed. I don't think that I've stayed in it close enough to understand exactly how it's changed. So I don't really do you have any take on that?
I feel like if we were to go back to Kickstarter now, even though we have experience with it, I think it would be a completely new experience, and we would have no idea what we're doing. And I think that's the case for most people in Kickstarter right now, or in crowdfunding in general, because it does change constantly. It's so new that it changes every month. The attitudes, the availability of games, what people are willing to back. I don't think there's any science to it that I'm aware of. It's all guessing and art.
One thing I'll add to that is the huge. The Banner Saga was my first experience with that kind of runaway Kickstarter project. The thing that I've learned, that I've tried to inform the teams that I've been involved with subsequent to that I think has not changed, is that properly evaluating the scope of your reward fulfillment kills a lot of teams. People don't realize how much time and money it costs to do all the things they promise they're going to do, especially like hard cost mailing stuff. And these guys, I mean, they made whole like short films about like just signing the posters. I mean, they had thousands and thousands of posters to mail and sign and things like that. And it's on the one hand, it's a good problem to have, but it also costs like tens of thousands of dollars that you are kind of assuming you were going to apply towards the game, and labor hours of doing all that stuff, because it's not like you can just pawn that off. Like, you're doing all that yourselves, and so it's one of those things that I think is still underestimated pretty broadly by a lot of Kickstarter projects.
Running the Kickstarter in general is a huge amount of work. There's the fulfillment, and from day one, you have, during the campaign and for the entire duration of development, you have a community, and you have to stay engaged with them on a day-to-day, every day, constant basis. You can't just step away for a few days and come back. You're in constant engagement with the community. So
that stuff hasn't changed.
You have to be ready for that. And I think a lot of people aren't ready to do that. One of the things that I think
it's free money. There's a lot of people that just think
it's not free money. It's a lot of work. It's good money. It's good money. It's cheap money, but it's not free. And one of the things that helped us, and I think still holds today, and this is what we try to tell people to do. Maybe it's not. Our advice is that if you have an idea, ideas aren't worth that much. Like, a lot of people have good ideas, but the ability to execute it is what really matters. So for us, we made a prototype and we showed it. This is what the game looks like, and we're going to do it. Like, we've already invested a lot of our own time and money in this, and that goes a long way to convincing people that you're serious. So if we see somebody with an idea and just some concepts, and that's it, and just a bunch of text, I usually advise them to go back and think about making a prototype, because if you're trying to convince people to give you a bunch of money, that's a big element in that.
Yeah, I mean, in worst case scenario, you actually get a lot of money for that, and then you realize you can't do it, and that's what sometimes gives these people a bad name.
Yeah, regrettably, I have seen that happen with Kickstarters in the past. It's not happened to me, which I'm very happy for, but it does happen sometimes. So now, what have been some of the greatest challenges of your specific role on your team?
Mine is just it's the amount of work. We developed a style that actually takes a long time to do, and we need X amount of it per game, and it's just a lot of stuff to get in there. And it's kind of balancing, even though I just do art and John just does programming, we're also trying to run the company, on the side, and we're also both doing design as well. We don't have anybody specifically devoted to I'm the designer, So we're all kind of doing a little bit of everything, and it's really, you've got to get really good about juggling all the different jobs that you have to do during the day. And sometimes I wake up early and I'm saying, I'm going to get through all my stuff and all my paperwork and all the business stuff. and then I'm going to be drawing from like 12 noon to 8 or 9 at night, and that's my day. And it doesn't happen. It's like 3 in the afternoon. I'm going, I haven't even drawn anything yet today. I'm still trying to get through all my stuff that I'm trying to work on. So it's no plan ever kind of works. You just kind of work out your day and do the best you can.
Yeah, for me, it's similar. There's a lot of work to do, but also a lot of the work that Arnie and Drew and Austin and Matt do require something from me. So they can do their part, but it can't really be completed until I do my part. And I try to make tools, and I try to make all these processes. And so anytime I find myself doing something, I try to make it into a tool so that someone else can do it. Like a lot of the life of a programmer is figuring out how to offload what you're doing onto someone else. It's empowerment, empowering the other team members. But that's a lot of it, because I end up being the bottleneck most of the time for everybody at once.
I see. And now, just before I ask Austin, I wanted to ask, there was another game on Kickstarter that I think it was using the Banner Saga engine. I'm pretty sure I've backed it. It was like Bedlam. Yes, I know Bedlam, but I could have sworn there was another one. It was kind of a post-spacefaring thing. Was that using the Banner Saga engine or no?
Only Skyshine's Bedlam has used the Banner Saga engine, and it's post-apocalyptic, and it's a roguelike. It has some similarities to FTL, where you're traveling through the nodes of a map and building, but you're building up a team and going into combat in turn-based tactical grid like Banner Saga. And they're some good friends of ours, and they put that out about 6 months ago, I think. It's a cool game.
And little known fact, they've actually updated the game since coming out. So if you download a Bedlam or you want to go give it a shot, it's a much improved game now. So I would definitely try it again.
Very cool. Yes, it has been on my to-do list for a while. So now, Mr. Wintery, I have to ask, because you're a composer, so you have a rather different sort of job than, the designer, the programmer, but you still have to work closely with them. So what difficulties have you run into?
Well, my biggest challenge is always trying to figure out how to... here, I'll hold it. Hate for you to sit there and get tired. Yeah, exactly. My challenge is usually trying to just do justice to what they are doing. Is to make the music simultaneously my own signature and my own thoughts on the game kind of infused into the music, but while also being very faithful to their grand vision, because it's very much a collaborative art, and my ideal score is one that when I look at the game it wrote it for, I couldn't imagine having ever written it for any other game. And the only way for that to happen is if I crawl so far into their vision that they bring in all these ideas that are external to my own to kind of marry with mine, because if I just sit and write music all day, it's all going to be obviously only my own thing, and I'm just kind of grafting it onto their game. But that's not my goal. My goal is for the music to seem as if it's born from the game, and so that it just always feels like it could only ever be for this thing. And that could be really challenging, especially because sometimes they need, a year to just build the basic tech to then implement the art and the characters and the animation and that, and it can be difficult for me to figure out what my role is during that time sometimes, because the tech is ultimately not what makes the game. That's just what drives the experience, and that's what enables it to do all the things that they're trying to accomplish from a design standpoint. And so but there are opportunities, and I don't want to spin off on too many tangents here, but I'll say that one of the only other logistical, just easy to explain challenge that I pretty regularly encounter, and especially on both 1 and 2, is that I get really ambitious with the production of the score. I'm saying I want to record a big full orchestra, which requires a whole crew. It requires my team at full sail, and it includes a whole audio production pipeline that's almost like a microcosm of the entire game production of its own, where I have a pre-production, production, post-production process, and the music has to go through this almost machine of people doing their jobs in order to achieve that really big sound with a full orchestra and the whole thing. And the challenge comes is that at some point, because there's so many moving parts, you have to commit to dates for those things to happen. And on both games, I've committed to dates, and then the game's schedule has pushed after I've made that commitment, which means now I'm writing music pretty substantially ahead of the curve. And so I have to have really deep conversations with them to make sure that I'm not writing the wrong music, because once it's recorded, we're committed. So I'm writing music, like in this game, for example, like the whole end of the game. The music ended up having to inform a lot of like Drew's writing and things like that, because they hadn't gotten there yet, but the music was already done. And that can be a challenge. But, you know, especially, it was a lot easier on this one because I knew the game, I knew the story, I knew the scenario. Well, but I feel like I really knew the Banner Saga as a concept, whereas on the first game I was still learning that, right? But now I benefit from having done the whole first game, and the second one was mostly figured out by the time the score was committed to, so it wasn't as big a problem. But it is a unique challenge to games that you don't have in film or other places.
So it sounds like this has been a real labor of love. I mean, you guys, you guys really have to collaborate then to make sure every piece fits together, not just mechanically or design-wise, but even musically. So,
Well, and another thing to remember is because the team is so small, if those things don't work, it's like that's my fault, or that's your fault, or this your like. It's not like if the 600-person Old Republic team, somebody does it there all and it doesn't gel with the rest of the game because these 50 people over there were not quite on the same. Like you take a lot of personal ownership over it, because you realize, like, if this element is flawed, there's no one to hide behind with that, you know?
Same with you on every score, though, right? I mean, even large teams and scores, you're used to that now. You are the music guy, you know? It's not like you have 25 composers you're working with, you know? Yeah.
But yeah, well, I mean, it's been very neat talking to you guys. I'd like to ask, for folks at home, so where can they find out more about the Banner Saga?
The Banner Saga is right now available on Steam for PC and Mac, so get it now.
On Steam, and also like the website, Banner Saga or Stoic Studio.
Bannersaga.com is where you can get more information on it.
Follow you on Twitter?
What's our Twitter handle? At Banner Saga.
Well, it has been a real pleasure talking with you folks. It's nice to finally meet you, and I cannot wait to play the Banner Saga too. Yes, please enjoy your PAX. So I'm here at PAX East 2016, and I'm speaking with a professional cosplay. No, I'm just kidding. I'm actually talking with one of the members of the team that made the Banner Saga. Sir, could you tell the folks at home your name?
Drew McGee.
Pleasure to meet you, Mr. McGee. Could you tell them what you made?
I'm sorry?
Oh, could you tell them? Sorry, what was your role on the team?
Oh, I'm the writer.
Oh, very nice. So, when my heart was broken in spoiler moment, I'm not mentioning it, during the first game, were you at fault?
Only partially. I blame it more on Arnie and Alex Thomas and John Watson.
Okay, I see. So, how did you get into writing for the Banner Saga?
I begged a lot of people. I pleaded. I did favors. No, we all worked together at BioWare. Worked on Star Wars: The Old Republic, and that's how I met people like Arnie, who's featured behind us here.
Hi, Arnie.
and Alex Thomas and John Watson, and so we started getting to know each other. They split off to kickstart Banner Saga, and when that happened, I saw the art style and I said, guys, is there any way that I can be part of this team? What do you want me to do? They said at the time they needed help with quality assurance. They needed someone to play through the game and test it. And then the writing started growing, and they said, hey, you want to write for us, now's your chance. And I was like, please, thank you. Started working on the quests. Those really developed, started working on the lore for the game, helped develop that. And now when Alex separated from the team, the spot for writing came up, and so obviously I was the person that they wanted because I knew the lore already, and I had worked with the team. So yeah, no writer has a clear shot to what they're doing, but that's my story.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people are interested in getting started writing in the games industry. There was a great panel about creative writing for games yesterday. I'm not sure if you got to attend that one.
I did not.
Okay, it was really good. But regarding writing, so how would you recommend a writer? What would you recommend for writers who are interested in games?
First off, I would recommend you write. Write all the time. It doesn't have to be a novel. It doesn't have to be a video game. It can be a short story. It can be a character bio that you're thinking about. Write those things, because only then do you really start internalizing what it takes to do it on the grand scale. beyond that, make friends in the industry. Get a job in the industry. Get whatever job you want. People say don't go the QA route. I did it. People say that you got to go to a guild hall or some sort of college now, and those always give you information and knowledge. It's how you apply that knowledge. So I would say network with people. Come to PAX. Come to a lot of conventions. GDC if you can afford it. Talk to people. Let them know that you're interested and what you're interested in doing. Join the IGDA's Writing SIG. The special interest group. You can Google that and find that. It's a great collection of probably 500 plus game writers who answer questions every day about what it takes to get into the industry.
Very nice. Now, I am obligated to ask everybody this question. It's a hard question. What's your favorite game of all time?
Oh, wow. Chrono Trigger.
This man has taste. Okay, this man has taste. What's your favorite part of that game, man?
Oh, wow. Probably the replayability, because I try to play through it every couple of years just to refresh my memory. The characters, oh man, trying to defeat the boss as soon as possible. What you can do it like, I think you can do it within an hour, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I've never been able to do it, but that goal still lives in my mind. So yeah, just that's an amazing game that's timeless.
Yeah, not to go too off topic, but have you played Stories: A Path of Destinies?
I have not.
Okay, I actually beat that one a little while ago. It was developed by Spearhead Games. They're out here somewhere, but it's a game with like a lot of endings, and like you actually have to lose the game multiple times before you can win. It's really cool.
Beautiful. So it's sort of that roguelike where it develops as you die.
It's not really a roguelike. Like you're playing through the same level, same enemies. However, like you have to make different choices. It's more like a choose-your-own-adventure sort of thing.
Beautiful. Well, that's often how we shape the. We try to keep that in mind when working on the Banner Saga. You know what options would we like? What's feasible? What's realistic for the player to do, and give the player options that if you should be angry at a certain point, there should be an angry option. It doesn't necessarily have to lead anywhere. But it really colors your narrative. It really covers that story and makes you feel like, wow, you know what? I'm angry. This happened. Of course I'm angry, and I get to choose that.
Very cool. Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you. We've learned some awesome stuff. Now, let's say some folks want to find out more about what you do on Twitter or other social media. Who do they follow?
So you can follow the whole studio at Stoic Studio. You can follow me at Drew McGee Writes. And yeah, constantly tweeting, constantly talking to people, constantly responding. We get a internal thread of all the tweets that come our way, so we try to respond to as many as possible.
Very cool. Well, it's been really great talking to you. I hope you enjoy your PAX.
I appreciate it. Thank you. You too.
Excellent, yeah.